So with group 4, we have, okay, Yano, Edurot, Leocadio, and Sario. Where is Sario here? There. Oh, Renani, where are you? There you go. Only 4 in your group?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, let's start.
Here in our country, the Philippines, many but not that much are still hesitant of taking the vaccine for COVID-19. Everyone has been itching about when this pandemic will end. Some experts say it will end a couple of years from now. Some say the COVID-19 will stay and will be part of our lives, just like the seasonal flu. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Antonians, good morning. Our discussion for today is about mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic. I am Ezekiel Nate, your moderator, and these are our panelists. Mr. Rudyard Brian Idurut, Mr. Lucas Christoph Leocadio, and last but not the least, Mr. Hernani Sario III. Now let us hear from our first panelist, Mr. Hernani Sario III. Mr. Hernani, what is your view on the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic? Excuse
Unmute
me, Mr.
yourself.
Hernani,
Okay.
your mic is off.
In in my view, vaccination is very essential because it's needed for most jobs and most of those jobs are very important right now. I think there are small amounts of people that can work, so it's very crucial to have it or else there would be more problems not getting fixed, fewer people to work, and so many other problems. So just take the vaccine, please. It's not that hard. We need as much people working jobs right now. We need your help. With what's happening right now, the least you could do is take the vaccine. It will save you and will save others too. Think about how it can also help others. Take the vaccine and help everyone. Don't think about your safety, just think about your safety. Think about others' safety too. And if you take it, you can get back to your normal life. and have a proper job or maybe a minimum wage job. Well, at least you get your back to your normal life. So do you want to harm others not in a direct way or to save people? What I'm trying to say is that it really should be mandatory to take the vaccine. It can help in a path towards fixing the problems we're facing right now, like COVID-19 and jobless people. You can take you can make a change by taking the vaccine. Changing Make a change by taking the vaccine. It may seem like it's just taking the vaccine, it won't help, but it does make a large change. Do you want to know how? Well, it starts off with you getting it. It allows you to get a job and become more resilient to the effects of COVID-19. The vaccine will mimic COVID-19 to strengthen the immunity system, sort of like a training dummy. So take the vaccine even if you don't want to, but you need to. Don't trust random strangers on the internet. Trust scientists and the government. Don't trust things on Facebook. It's not trustworthy. You should believe the government. D- Don't think that they try to control your actions. And if you think they have tracking chips in the vaccine, there are many reasons why they wouldn't. One, they wouldn't need to know your location because you already have a giant walking tracker. You know what it is? It's your phone. It's because social media tracks your location and data and sells it to the government or sells it to companies for ads. Two, they don't really care where you are or what you do. So take the vaccine and change the world. Well, sort of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hernani, for your thoughts regarding the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic. Are there any questions, clarifications, and reactions from the audience or the panelists of Mr. Hernani's thoughts of the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic?
I have a question for Mr. Hernani. Why do we need the vaccine for our jobs?
It isn't mandatory, but it's highly recommended because it gives less chance to get infected or be given an infection to your family after work or from your coworkers at work. It's better off to get the vaccine, which is free in basically every country, than getting a bad day because you got COVID and snapped half of your income and living family members.
Oh, thank you for answering my question, Mr. Hernani.
I have another question for you, Hernani. Will all COVID 19 vaccines be the same?
Well, not exactly. Some vaccines may be more effective, but might be more strong, and not in a good way. And some are just pretty similar, like pain in the vaccination site, or some may get sick since the immunity system is reacting to it more differently. But it isn't something that can kill you.
Okay, thank you for your answer, Hernani. I understand now.
Now let's hear from Mr. Rudyard Brian Idorot. Mr. Rudyard, can you tell us your insights about mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic?
COVID 19 vaccination should be mandatory, at least for a certain groups. The less burdensome it is for an individual to do something that prevents harm to others, and the greater the harm prevented, the stronger the ethical reason for mandating it. Vaccines such as Pfizer, AstraZeneca, or Moderna, ones with 90 to 95% efficiency at preventing people from getting sick are also likely to be effective at stopping the virus from spreading, although possibly to a lower degree, because herd immunity benefits society collectively. It's only fair that the responsibility of reaching it is shared evenly among society's members. Of course, we might achieve herd immunity through less restrictive alternatives than making vaccinations mandatory, such as information campaigns to encourage people to be vaccinated. But even if we reach herd immunity, the higher the uptake of vaccines, the lower risk of falling below the herd immunity threesome at the later time. We should see vaccines as seatbelts against COVID 19. In fact, as a very special seatbelt, which protect ourselves and protects others. Mandatory vaccinations does not automatically increase vaccine uptake. An EU-funded projects on epidemics and pandemics, which took place several years before COVID-19, found no evidence to support this notion. Looking at Baltic and Scandinavian countries, the projects report noted that countries where a vaccination is mandatory do not usually reach better coverage than a neighbor or similar countries where there is no legal obligation. According to the Nutfield Council of Bioethics, mandatory vaccinations may be justified for highly contagious or serious diseases. But although contagious, Public Health England does not classify COVID 19 as a high consequence infectious disease due to its relatively low case fatality rate. COVID 19 severity is strongly linked with age. Divided individual perceptions of vulner- vulnerability within populations. In a liberal democracy, forcing the vaccines of millions of young and healthy citizens who perceive themselves to be at acceptably low risk from COVID 19 will be ethically disputed and is politically risky. Public apprehensions for a novel vaccine produced at break- breakneck speed are wholly legitimate. A survey of 70,000 people found 49% were very likely to get a COVID 19 vaccines once available. This is not because majority are anti-vaxxers, despite promising headlines. The trials are pharmaceutical processes surrounding them have not been scrutinized. The first trial only began in April, where there is limited data on long-term safety and efficacy. We don't know how long immunity lasts for. None of the trials were designed to tell us if the vaccines prevent serious diseases or virus transmissions. Anti-vaxxers do not trust experts in the street, and especially not the government. A government mundane will not just be met with unshakable defiance, but will also weaponize to recruit others to the anti-vaxxer cause. By 2021, the virus has the virus was eliminated. The successful rollout of novel COVID-19 vaccines will require time, communication, and trust. Enforced vaccinations should undermine trust between citizens and their institutions, as they wonder why concreos is even necessary and what could be wrong with the jobs. In an age of conspiracy theories, feeding the quackery on the fingers is the last thing we need in fighting the virus. The complexities of the debate mean the choices facing policymakers won't get easier anytime soon. Like me, even lovers of freedom can agree that sometimes conscious is necessary to prevent harm. But what's permissible needn't always be wise. Our best shot for now is to still keep rooting for science, to stay ruthlessly transparent with data, and to hope that people bear their arms because they want to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rudyard, for your clear, factual analysis and in-depth knowledge of the topic. Are there any questions, clarifications, and reactions from the audience or the panelists of Mr. Rudyard's opinions of the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic?
I have a question for Mr. Rudyard. Are COVID vaccines safe, even though the vaccines were developed rapidly?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Hanani. Scientists have been working for many years to develop vaccines against viruses like the one that causes COVID 19. This knowledge helps speed up the initial development of the current COVID 19 vaccines. Food and Drug Administration assesses the findings from clinical trials. FDA's undermined that their COVID 19 vaccines met FDA's safety and effectiveness standards and granted those vaccines emergency use authorization external ICON. This allowed the vaccines to be quickly distributed to control the pandemic. This allowed vaccines distribution to begin as soon as FDA authorized each vaccine. Tracking safety using vaccine monitoring system, COVID-19 vaccines safely monitoring has been the most intense and comprehensive in history.
Thanks for answering my question to you, Rudyard.
I have a question for Mr. Rudyard. Why should children be vaccinated against COVID-19?
Vaccinating children ages 5 years or older can help protect them from getting COVID-19, spreading the virus to others, and getting sick if they do not get infected. While COVID-19 tends to be milder in children than adults, it can make children very sick, require hospitalization, and some children may even die. Children with underlying medical conditions are most at risk for severe illness compared to children without underlying medical conditions.
Thank you for answering my question, Mr. Rudyard.
We have a question from the audience. Miss Wendy, why are there people who refuse to get vaccinated? Rudyard, may you answer Wendy's question?
Certainly, there are people who refuse to get vaccinated because they simply are afraid of it. They are afraid that it might cause damage to their brains or even kill their loved ones. But this is simply not true. Vaccines are here to help us, not yeah, vaccines are here to help us and not kill us. So we need to take the vaccines in order for us to survive.
Okay, now let us hear from the panelists, Mr. Lucas Christoph Leocadio. Mr. Lucas, can you tell us your perceptions about the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic?
As I state my answer, some individuals may agree with me while others may disagree. And there could be a variety of reasons for this. Vaccines do not provide complete 100% protection, so new infections can occur. Although the vaccination is both safe and efficient, it does have a number of side effects, including headache, muscle pain, swelling at the injection site, and others. In my opinion, I think we must make it mandatory. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention or CDC, Getting vaccinated against COVID-19 can reduce the risk of you contracting and spreading the virus. Vaccines have also been thoroughly tested to guarantee that they are both safe and effective. According to what we know so far, vaccines are effective against existing variants, particularly in preventing severe disease, hospitalization, and death. A minority of people believe that the vaccine can transform us into zombies, cause our minds to go haywire, or can cause death. But this is not true. All of this is based on online misinformation. These are not information proven and confirmed by experts. Veritas liberabit vos. The truth will set you free. We must always keep in mind that do not believe in such information that easily and make sure it is from a trusted source. There are also many ways to avoid fake news from the internet. We must consider the source, read further, check the author of the article, check the date, check your biases, and seek clarification from an expert. To top it all off, I believe that it is mandatory for us to take the vaccine to keep us safe from the virus. It may not always guarantee you will not get the virus, but it is a precautionary measure that we must take. COVID-19 vaccines have been shown to be both safe and effective, as well as life-saving. They do not totally protect everyone who is vaccinated, and we do not yet know how well they can prevent people from who is vaccinated. So in addition to getting vaccinated, we must continue to take other steps to combat the pandemic. Mandatory vaccination might bring more benefit than damage, not just to the people, but to the economy too. Just remember, just because your friends or relatives say something, it doesn't mean it's true. We must not assume that the given information by others is true immediately. Remember, everyone, follow safety protocols and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas Christoph Liocadi, for your strong worded, detailed analysis and in depth understanding of the topic. Are there any questions, clarifications, and reactions from the audience or the panelists of Mr. Lucas' understanding of the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic?
I have a question for Mr. Lucas. What can we do to help people that are easily tricked into believing in misinformation?
This can help you understand where, when, why, and how misinformation is spreading in your community. Engage with and listen to your community to identify and analyze perceptions, content gaps, information voids, and misinformation. Share details, including addresses and hours, about local vaccination sites and events with community-based organizations and local media. Use trusted messengers to boost credibility and the likelihood of being seen and believed over misinformation. Some people may not trust public health professionals or visit the health department website, so it's more effective to reach them through the channels and sources they took to and trust for health information, such as religious leaders or community organizations.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Now I know.
I have another question for you, Mr. Lucas. What can you say about the misinformation that is being spread online about vaccines?
Propaganda, misinformation, deep and cheap fakes, and other attempts at manipulation are prevalent on social media. This page contains some information and strategies that you can use to avoid spreading them yourself. False information can often spread through the following path. A propagandist, fanatic, or scammer makes up a piece of information or story and posts it as a fact on a show, social media posts, or editorial outlet. Followers of the initial poster repost, retweet, or otherwise spread the information on their own channels. Other outlets report that people are talking about the issue. Mainstream news sources many report on the issue as fact, especially if they have not fully done their fact checking in an effort to get a scoop. Those outlets post retractions or apologies, but by that point, large numbers of people may believe the false fact because it came from a trustworthy source.
Thank you for answering my question, Mr. Lucas. I understand now.
Well, thank you very much for giving your insights, opinions, and views of the mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic. Mandatory vaccination to end the pandemic. In conclusion, implementing mandatory vaccination gives more benefits than harm from misinformation and full-blown conspiracy theories. The benefits of vaccination are of great importance for people with weak immune systems, like the young or old. The vaccine can trigger an immune response in the body, which further kills the virus more effectively. As we see nowadays, many are vaccinated. We are slowly getting back to our economy with the implementation of the minimum public health protocol. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay, congratulations, Group 4, for that impressive performance, too. Okay, congratulations. Let's give a round of applause for Group 4. This is not working. Why is it? Anyway, okay. So there. So I am going to ask the same questions. Okay, guys, kindly type your answers in the meeting chat. Did the panelists answer questions in a clear and concise manner? Did the panelists answer questions in a clear and concise manner? Yes, from Wendy. How about the others? Are you still there? Yes, from Oleg. How about the others? Okay, yes, from Anika. Okay, from Lujit. Okay, thank you. Were they knowledgeable and well prepared? Were they knowledgeable and well prepared? Okay, thank you for your answers. Now, you can just unmute yourself if you want to answer the third question. What piece of information have you learned from their discussion? What piece of information have you learned from their discussion? Unmute yourself. Anybody? What have you learned from their presentation? From their discussion? Or type in the meeting chat. Guys? Hello? How many are we here? 22.